Tonight, a mother who killed her baby daughter by burning her with a hairdryer is jailed for 6 years. 3-month-old Dahlia Rose was subjected to significant and sustained heat on her head and body by her mother, Courtney Gartshaw.
It is tragic as well as terrible. And that is because the evidence suggested that the accused loved Dahlia Rose, yet will have to live the rest of her life with the knowledge that she was responsible for her death.
Also on tonight's programme.
It's almost like a punishment on the victim again. We've not done anything wrong. It's not our fault that the prisons are full.
A woman who was raped by a stranger asks politicians to think of victims and abandon plans for the early release of hundreds of criminals. The sale of disposable barbecues is temporarily banned across the UK during the current dry conditions.
Coming up in tonight's sport, Celtic boss Martin O'Neill confirms Arne Engels is on the verge of a big money switch to West Ham.
And the leisure centre that's been transformed for an alternative music festival in Shetland with a big name headline act. I'm Laura Goodwin, this is Reporting Scotland. A mother who killed her baby daughter by burning her with a hairdryer has been jailed for 6 years. Courtney Gartshaw inflicted what was described as significant and sustained heat on the head and body of 3-month-old Dahlia Rose in Peterhead in September 2023. The judge in the case called it uniquely disturbing and distressing. Stephen Godden reports.
Dahlia Rose Gartshaw was just 3 months old when she died in September 2023. Her mother, Courtney Gartshaw, spent that night drinking and returned to her Peterhead flat in the early hours. By next morning, Dahlia Rose was dead, having suffered burns to her head, neck and body from a hairdryer that was found plugged in beside the bed. Last month, a jury in Aberdeen convicted 28-year-old Gartshaw of culpable homicide. Today, she was sentenced to 6 years in prison.
This is a uniquely disturbing and distressing case. But, as Mr. Macara has pointed out, it is tragic as well as terrible. And that is because the evidence suggested that the accused loved Dahlia Rose, yet will have to live the rest of her life with the knowledge that she was responsible for her death.
Courtney Gartshaw claims she doesn't remember using the hairdryer. Her defence lawyer said he couldn't offer a reasonable explanation, but could only speculate it was because Dahlia Rose was cold and it was an attempt to warm her up.
The judge said that afterwards she tried to cover up her involvement. But this wasn't, he said, a case where the baby's death was the culmination of weeks of abuse or neglect. Instead, he described it as a gross aberration from an otherwise mostly satisfactory standard of care.
That night, however, he said Courtney Gartshaw's actions were criminally reckless.
It should have been obvious that Dahlia Rose was suffering severe and disfiguring burns over much of her face and body and was being caused significant distress and pain. Put another way, the accused's actions or failures to act must have continued in the face of what should have been obvious suffering being caused to Dahlia Rose.
Courtney Gartshaw wasn't in court for sentencing. She appeared by video link, sobbing and wiping away tears as the judge told her she was guilty of breaching the most basic duty of any parent, to keep their child safe. Stephen Godden, Reporting Scotland, at the High Court in Edinburgh.
For victims of crime, the thought of their perpetrator leaving prison is already a frightening thought. But new proposals being considered by the Scottish Government to cope with overcrowding in our jails could mean more criminals are able to leave jail sooner. One woman who was violently raped in Aberdeen 10 years ago and whose attacker is soon to be freed is asking ministers to think of what early release will mean to victims. Here's our Home Affairs correspondent, David Cowan.
10 years ago, police launched a major inquiry after a young woman was subjected to a brutal rape in Aberdeen. Katie Johnston's attacker is now nearing the end of his sentence and will be out before the proposals have any chance of coming into force. But she's worried for other victims and the message such changes would send.
It's almost like a punishment on the victim again. We've not done anything wrong. It's not our fault that the prisons are full. So I don't feel like the victims should be punished again just because they can't hold prisoners for their full sentence.
The government's most controversial proposals involve prisoners serving 4 years or more. At present, they're eligible for parole halfway through their sentence. If they don't get it, they're freed automatically when they have 6 months left to serve. The government wants to change the automatic early release point to 2/3 of the sentence. It says at least 630 prisoners would have been freed immediately had all its proposals been in place in February this year. Two organisations which work with crime victims believe exemptions should be considered for sex offenders and people convicted of domestic abuse.
Unless we're going to greatly improve our risk assessment process and the safety measures that are in place in the community when we release them, yes, they should automatically be exempted.
This might be a little bit too much of a blunt object, and we would like to think, are there particular crimes where there should be exemptions or where further assessments need to be made? So, for example, where there's targeted crimes.
Prisoners freed early would be supervised by social workers. The profession's leadership body is broadly supportive of the proposals.
Justice social worker, highly skilled, highly experienced in managing complex, high-risk individuals in the community. And as long as we're resourced to do that, I've got no doubt the profession will be able to do so.
Here's a snapshot of prisoners who might benefit from early release. All received long-term sentences this year. 20 were convicted of sexual offences. 8 are behind bars over drugs. 3 were convicted of attempted murder. 2 for causing death by dangerous driving. This pair were jailed over financial crime. And this man is behind bars for culpable homicide.
It's not our fault that the prisons are full.
We put Katie's comments to the new Justice Secretary.
My heart goes out to Katie in terms of what she has been through, and I don't diminish that in any way. And this is not just about taking forward a set of proposals in order to deal with a prison population issue. It's also about looking at how we manage our offenders, how we manage and prevent reoffending happening so that we can prevent people becoming victims in the first place.
The government is also looking at increasing prison capacity. Neil Gray said options include modular units to a new jail. The consultation closes next week. Ultimately, Parliament will decide what should be done. David Cowan, reporting Scotland.
The sale of disposable barbecues has been temporarily banned across the UK during the current dry conditions. The UK government say they have been the cause of a number of serious wildfires this summer and shouldn't be available to buy in shops or online until further notice. Well, Ben Phillip is by Loch Lomond for us this evening. Ben, that is somewhere that typically people might bring a barbecue.
It certainly is, Laura, and for the most part it's been a warm and sunny summer, and there's been a lot of alfresco dining in places like this here at Loch Lomond, but the dry conditions have brought their issues as well. There is a serious drought in England and Wales at the moment. There was a vast wildfire which affected large parts of the Cairngorms in the Highlands just last month, and tonight the UK government has banned the sale of disposable barbecues in shops and online, saying they pose a risk to people and the environment in the current conditions. And of course, many people this weekend might have been planning to use disposable barbecues, but the Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has urged people not to. Here's the reaction from people here.
Banning can only be a good thing, especially with the irresponsible people you get nowadays, just starting them, leaving them, walking away, not sure what they've left behind.
I don't really know about that. I think it's matches you've got to worry about. I don't know about barbecues.
For me it's difficult because where we are going today, like we've got all our barbecue stuff to do, and then it's sort of we're going camping, so it then puts the sort of spanner in the works that actually how do you feed yourself. But you can understand, like obviously we are responsible, but there is people that clearly aren't.
I think it's a good idea because there's portable barbecues, you can take it, it's not getting left, and they're not getting left on the beach. Obviously less litter as well, eh?
Now, of course, not all of the wildfires this summer have been caused by disposable barbecues, but the Prime Minister says that some of them have been caused by disposable barbecues. He said they can't be considered a safe product at the moment. The ban applies here in Scotland and also in England and in Wales, and will be kept under review until the weather conditions change. But ultimately, the advice is to be careful when lighting any fires outdoors at the moment, to ultimately try and prevent any further wildfires from happening.
OK, Ben, thank you very much. Some of the day's other stories now. A third farm in Dumfries and Galloway has a confirmed case of the potentially deadly blue tongue virus. A lamb and 2 sheep on neighbouring farms have also tested positive. Chief Veterinary Officer Sheila Vose says the new incident is on premises less than 2 kilometres from the existing cases. All 3 farms are under restriction while investigations continue. Novelty politician Kent Binface has announced plans to perform a one-off show at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. The self-styled space warrior is the alter ego of comedian John Harvey, who came second to Reform UK leader Nigel Farage in the Clacton by-election. The show, called Face of the Establishment, is at the Pleasance on the 26th of August. The head of Scotland's Violence Reduction Unit says more funding is needed to prevent a return to pre-pandemic levels of violent crime. It comes during the first National Violence Prevention Week, as the number of attempted murders involving 16 and 17-year-olds has increased, as has the number of weapons recovered from young people. Selina Jackson reports.
You're aware of the ongoing issues and sometimes complaints we've had about the beach.
Patrols along Ayrshire's coastline are one of the ways police are trying to keep young people safer over the summer.
We've got kids coming from all over Scotland, Glasgow, Paisley and beyond to use the facilities, also our local kids, and we engage with kids at an early age and stage, trying to influence them in positive decisions, not to be involved in violence, antisocial behaviour.
Schemes like this are being highlighted as part of the first National Violence Prevention Week. Last year, 3 young people lost their lives in stabbings in Scotland, all carried out by under-18s. Now, police are trying to understand more about what's leading young people to violence.
So initially, when we embarked on this, we really targeted sort of that high school age into 13, 14-year-olds. Academics would suggest that you need to start as young as 2 years of age. We really need to be in the early years, and that's why it's so important that we have the partners engaged in this.
The number of teenagers involved in violent incidents fell last year, but there's been an increase in attempted murders involving 16 and 17-year-olds and in the number of weapons seized from young people.
What we are finding is that young people don't feel safe, and that's really concerning to me, because Scotland is actually a safe place to live, to work and to visit compared to other places. And so therefore we need to get the message across that you don't need to carry weapons.
At the end of June, the number of police officers in Scotland had fallen to its lowest level in 2 years. There's concern that without more funding for prevention, violence involving young people could rise again.
We always back more investment in prevention and violence reduction. We know that it works. We do not want to return to the pre-pandemic or 2005 levels of violence that we have seen.
Justice Secretary Neil Gray says violence prevention work has been backed by more than £8 million of investment since 2023. He added that policing will receive record funding this year, and more than £1 million is going towards youth work. The number of violent incidents that have been prevented will never be known, but those on the front line are clear that more can be done.
I would love nothing more than for the Violence Reduction Unit to not need to exist, because violence is such a non-issue in Scotland, so success looks like us not existing.
How realistic is that?
It's going to be challenging to realise that vision, absolutely, but we know it's possible. Evidence tells us that violence is preventable, not inevitable.
Selina Jackson, reporting Scotland.
9 men have gone on trial at the High Court in Glasgow, accused of a violent revenge plot in the city. The crimes are said to have been sparked following the death of a man in Pollock in 2020. From the High Court, Gillian Sharp reports.
There are 9 men in the dock here at the High Court in Glasgow. The trial could last 7 weeks. The indictment says the charges follow the death of a man in 2020. In agreed evidence, the court heard that Omar Sadiq was stabbed by Hashim Uddin in September of that year. The 2 men were brothers-in-law. The jury heard that after a 2021 trial, Hashim Uddin was sentenced to 6 years in prison for culpable homicide. The indictment alleges the men on trial, including Omar Sadiq's brother, conspired together and with others to assault and endanger the life and murder Hashim Uddin and his relatives and associates. The charges span a variety of locations and a period between September and December 2020. They include several alleged petrol bomb attacks and attempted murders with knives and a machete. Kashif Sadiq, Robert Daniel, David Doherty, David McShane, William McNally, Tony Robertson, Michael Kennaway, James Blakely and James Bennett deny the accusations they face. The trial was adjourned until Monday. Gillian Sharp reporting Scotland at the High Court in Glasgow.
Well, time now for All Tonight Sport with Sheila.
Thanks, Laura. A busy one tonight. Hello there. Let's start with some transfer news as Celtic boss Martin O'Neill has confirmed midfielder Arne Engels is on the verge of joining West Ham. The 22-year-old Belgian, who joined 2 years ago for a club record fee of around £11 million, scored 17 goals in his time at the club. This transfer fee is reported to be an English Championship record in the region of £22 million. Now, Derek McInnes admits the current Rangers team is not ready for the level of the Europa League after Polish side Jagiellonia Białystok triumphed 3-2 on aggregate in their third-round qualifier. In last night's second leg at Ibrox, captain Lawrence Shankland's penalty, his first Rangers goal, put the hosts ahead on the night. But the visitors equalised in the second half, meaning the Poles prevailed over the two legs and sent Rangers into a Conference League playoff against Czech side Jablonec. McInnes, who is now without a win in his opening 4 matches, felt his team deserved to be booed off at the final whistle.
Yeah, I think it was justified, to be honest. It wasn't good enough. What we served up, particularly second half, wasn't good enough. We've got to be honest with that, I've got to own it. The club's built for Europa League and Champions League, and that's the intention to get there, but I'm not sure the team's quite ready for it at the minute. And it pains me to say that, to be honest. It does. We need to get more quality, we need to try and get more confidence into the team, but it wasn't the outcome that we wanted.
Well, these are the 9 players that Rangers have already brought in this summer, and they hope to add 3 to 5 more over the next couple of weeks. But one player who won't be joining is PSV Eindhoven winger Suhaib Draush. He was at Ibrox last night to watch the match, but Rangers have pulled out of that deal following the Moroccan's medical. And after last night's Europa League exit, their budget will be a good bit smaller than they would have hoped for.
For every £1 you'll make in the Europa Conference, you make £2 in the Europa League and you make 7 in the Champions League. So there are substantial consequences. You still get a small fee for getting to the league stage of the conference, but of course you're only playing 3 games at home there as opposed to 4 in the Europa League, and Ibrox will sell out regardless of the opposition, so there will be a loss of match day income as well.
Motherwell boss Alfred Johansson believes the togetherness at the club has made his team stronger after they booked their place in the Conference League playoffs. There was also progression for Hibernian, while Hearts dropped down from the Europa League to play Rapid Vienna after a 7-2 aggregate defeat to Benfica. Hibs followed up their 2-1 home win over Scandia with a goalless draw in North Macedonia to set up a clash with Belgian side Ghent. Motherwell will face last season's Europa League finalist Freiburg for a place in the group stage after 2 sensational Ibrahim Said goals saw off HJK Helsinki at a bouncing Fir Park.
People said that it's not the biggest stadium in the world, but when it's a match day, the place it gets rocking. And it sure did last night, and that atmosphere, playing these late games on a Thursday, it's a really nice place to be, and that togetherness and that alignment throughout the club is it's massive. It makes us stronger.
For where we are and what we've achieved so far, it's been a very good start to the season. Now, massive one on Sunday. Can we get into the next round of the Cup against Partick Thistle side that I watched the last game, they played really well against Livingston, so that'll be a real difficult test as well, and the players need to be ready to go again.
Well, the football doesn't pause for long because this weekend 16 clubs are in Premier Sports Cup second round action with an Ayrshire derby tonight to kick things off. And Kenny Crawford is at Rugby Park for us. Kenny, these Kilmarnock and Ayr United meetings don't come around too often, do they?
That's right, Sheila. We're used to seeing derbies in Glasgow, derbies in Edinburgh and derbies in Dundee on a regular basis, but this one in Ayrshire between Kilmarnock and Ayr United is a far more rare affair. That's because most of the time they're in different divisions. In fact, it was 4 years when these sides last met. In the Premiership so far this campaign, Kilmarnock under Neil McCann have lost their opening 2 games, so a tough start for them. Meanwhile, in the Championship, Ayr United under Gary Naismith have taken 4 points from 6, and it's safe to say the Killie fans won't be giving them a warm welcome here tonight.
In my view, it's a bit light-hearted. It's just like them, and yeah, I just don't. Yeah, that's it.
It's a friendlier rivalry in the main. You know, it exists in the bubble generally of when we're playing them, and to be fair, as long as they don't win any trophies, then we've got that over them.
How are you feeling? How are the confidence levels tonight?
No great, to be fair. Just the way we've started the season defensively, but as I say, if we can't turn up for a game against your biggest rivals, then I don't know any kind of game you can turn up for.
Well, remember, one thing is good here down at Rugby Park because it's now an all-grass pitch here. That's something the purists will be happy about, Kilmarnock replacing their artificial surface over the summer. Remember as well that on Saturday and Sunday, so many more intriguing ties in the League Cup. There's Stenhousemuir of the Championship against Motherwell. There's Dundee United hosting Celtic at Tannadice. And on Sunday, Rangers, under pressure as we've heard, host St Mirren, the holders of the League Cup, at Ibrox. And remember, tonight you can listen to this game on BBC Radio Scotland between Kilmarnock and Ayr United on Sportsound.
Thanks, Kenny. A big night there in Ayrshire. OK, finally to athletics, and Jake Whiteman is through to the 1500-metre final at the European Championships. The former world champion was calm and composed as he won his heat in Birmingham. The final will take place tomorrow night. One to look forward to then.
Thank you very much indeed, Sheila. Now, it's out with the badminton rackets and in with the electric guitars for Rising North in Lerwick this weekend. The Clickerman Leisure Centre in Shetland has been transformed into an alternative music festival headlined by rock legends Ash. Manchester band Pale Waves are also set to perform alongside local artists. Our reporter Karen Angus Mackay takes us behind the scenes.
Gig season hits the far north. Pubs and clubs are packed out this weekend, and the main stage is in a popular leisure centre.
It's a huge amount of work goes into this, from laying the floor, putting out the stage. The amount of hours the boys put in for the lights is incredible. The PA comes in, it's tiered seating.
This is where football, badminton and basketball are regularly played. But tonight this space will see activity of a different kind as Manchester band Pale Waves take to the stage. The 12-hour overnight ferry from Aberdeen doesn't sound glamorous, but for band members Heather, Charlie and Kira, it's just another journey.
We've done so many long flights and ferries and whatever, but I actually think this one was quite enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. It was quite wholesome, and I've always wanted to come to Shetland, so when we got invited, I was like, absolutely.
Ash are booked to play Saturday night.
This is our first time going to Shetland Islands, and yeah, it's a bit of a trek, this festival, because I'm flying from London up to Aberdeen and then jumping on the plane over from there, but our gear is going up on the ferry.
It's not the first time the Clickerman Leisure Centres hosted big names. Pulp performed in 1996 at the peak of their success. Now in its third year, Rising North puts the spotlight on local talent.
The majority of it will be local bands with a couple of the headliners, so it's great for the local bands to get the exposure and also be able to share a stage with big bands like Ash and Pale Waves and meet them and network and learn from them, you know, so it's great for everyone, I think.
With around 1,000 people expected at the big concerts, organisers hope Shetland appears in more tour schedules. Cameron Angus Mackay, reporting Scotland, Lerwick.
Well, coming up on Reporting Scotland News at 7, the ultimate battle of the bands. The World Pipe Band Championships are in Glasgow. 8,000 musicians from 15 countries are competing today and tomorrow. The city has been home to the competition for more than 7 decades.
The pinnacle of the year, so it is. I suppose this is what we all work towards, is the World Pipe Band Championships.
And what is it like being here? Describe the atmosphere.
Yeah, the atmosphere is great, so it is. And you sort of get to meet people, from different countries, and it's a real excitement about it.
How's the weather going to be for them, Gillian?
Looking decent, Laura. Not a bad weekend to come. Decent amount of dry and bright weather. Good evening to you. We had some sunshine around today, along with some areas of cloud, a few showers, and you might have noticed a slightly fresher feel, particularly for parts of Western Scotland. We still had some warm sunshine in the east, but that was down to a slight shift in wind direction. Lots of dry weather over the weekend, thanks to the proximity of high pressure, but into next week is when we'll see low pressure moving in, and it's turning much more wetter and unsettled. For tonight, it's dry for most of us, some clear spells for southern, central and eastern Scotland. Cloudier in the northwest with a scattering of showers, a few of which could be on the heavy side, but certainly a more comfortable night than we've had of late. Temperatures 10 to 12 Celsius for the most part, rather than the mid to high teens, which we've seen over the last couple of nights. So tomorrow we'll start with sunshine across much of southern, central and eastern Scotland. We'll still have that cloudier, showery zone in the northwest pretty much from the word go, and as we head through the day, cloud will become a bit more extensive. This is the picture around about 4 o'clock, and you can see we have cloud and some showers for the northern and western Isles, the northwest Highlands, 1 or 2 heavy ones. Into the afternoon, we could see a few of those drifting eastwards into Murray and Aberdeenshire. The odd one further south, but generally lots of dry weather for central and southern Scotland. Large areas of cloud, but thinning and breaking at times to allow some brightness. Temperatures 17 to 20 Celsius for most of us, so again down on recent days, and westerly breezes brisk at times along the west coast. So for day 2 of the World Pipe Band Championships at Glasgow Green, it's looking decent. It will be dry, wee bit of sunshine. Temperatures about 15 to 17 Celsius for the most part. Tomorrow evening and night, there'll be some sunshine to end the day for central and southern parts, and overnight a decent amount of dry weather. There will still be a scattering of showers in the far north, and towards Sunday morning you can see thickening cloud bringing some patchy rain in from the southwest. Temperature-wise again around that 11 or 12 Celsius mark. So for Sunday, a bright start for parts of eastern Scotland, but it doesn't last too long because cloud will increase. We'll see that showery rain affecting southwest Scotland, perhaps parts of Argyll, the Hebrides. Also a scattering of showers in the far northeast, but for areas in between, albeit cloudy, still mainly dry, and there will be a few bright spells. Again, temperatures mid to high teens for most of us. Into next week, that's when it does start to turn quite unsettled. Low pressure moving in, bringing rain, initially focused in western Scotland on Monday morning, but it comes more widespread in the afternoon and heavy in places. That's the forecast, Laura.
Gillian, thank you. I'll be here with your late news at around 10:30 tonight. Until then, from everyone on the team, enjoy your evening and have a great weekend when it comes. Bye-bye.